So it's now over a month, and I have been using, of course, Xiaomi's Mi 9. It has been for a while my main phone. I've been swapping between this and other phones that I've been reviewing, of course, but now a month later, there are still some things that remain with this particular phone that I don't particularly like, even after some firmware updates. In fact, some of those firmware updates have introduced new bugs. Now, this phone has fantastic hardware, especially for the price when you consider it. So it's got a great screen, great cameras, and overall a very good build. And especially when you factor in that for most flagship phones, they're going to be costing probably twice the amount of this one here. So we do get a lot, but here are 5 things that I don't particularly like after a month of using the Mi 9. So I am on the latest firmware here. This is MIUI's 10.2.17. Okay, so one of the first ones, and for me, is a little bit of a major. Now, some people probably won't actually be bothered by this at all, but the notifications, they're not showing properly, so you have to swipe down to see them all. You do get the icons at the top, and yes, in the settings, I do have it enabled, so the icons would show for the notifications, but they disappear. Now, this is either something that Xiaomi wants in their ROMs. They want it to be hidden away just to keep things cleaner at the top, which I feel is a mistake. But even after that last patch that we got, the firmware update did not fix that. So I've demonstrated this in my review. I will just go and download whatever, any app, just to show you when the notifications now will all start to pop up. See how we're getting all the icons there? And watch what happens now. They're gone. And they stay gone until you swipe down from the top to see then all the notifications, which to me is a little annoying. Now, this is another thing here that does annoy me, and it is the face unlocking. So my region, I set it to Spain because I'm living in Spain, and I don't have face unlocking available to me, which is, I don't know why Xiaomi are doing this. Can someone explain to me why they would stop certain regions from not having face unlocking? So I have to use, of course, the fingerprint reader, which is perfectly fine. It took about, 2 seconds just then. So in order to get it, I would have to change my region then from Spain to something like India, and a few other countries. I'm not too sure. I think it's maybe Sweden was one that might have it enabled, or Switzerland. Let's try that. So I'll change that over. Now, let's see if we get face unlocking, because I've already actually set it up before. No. Okay. Poor example. But if I set it to India, I know then face unlocking is definitely going to work. But what happens when the region is set to India, you will start to see advertising. Now, if you haven't seen my full review, or I think it's my follow-up video, I'll just get out of this for a second and show you that you get this right here, okay? Advertising, and some very inappropriate advertising that pops up in the ROM. So this is here, it's saying like friends with, it doesn't translate really, amigos con derechos. It's like an adult dating site, okay? This should not be showing up in there. So when I enabled India, it started pulling through these inappropriate Spanish adverts inside the ROM, the official apps here. So that was the cleaner app, I think it was. So just from the top here, when you went to cleaner, after you've run this, you see the ads. And this to me is a real big no-no, something I'm not happy at all with Xiaomi doing this. Please just remove, there we go, look, advertising. Please, can we just get rid of all of this, Xiaomi? In your ROMs, you don't need advertising if you ask me. One more thing that I'm not too happy with, that they can definitely improve, because this is only software. In fact, all of the things I'm covering right now are software. So their night mode, it's not really a night mode. This is an example of the night mode, okay? I know, guys in the comments, install Gcam, so Google's camera, you're going to fix it. But I'm just saying that Xiaomi could really improve this. So here is an example. That's the difference you get when you use, okay, Google camera. So you use then the night sight mode. You can see the big difference. But I'm sure that Xiaomi's software developer team with the camera, the guys that optimize the camera, they can do a little bit better with the night mode. Definitely. So this is something that's new. See that stuttering now when I pan? Like every time I record 4K video, it didn't happen with the first firmware. It didn't do that stutter in the beginning. So every time you start a new clip with 4K, it does a little stutter. And panning around as well isn't as smooth as it could be. It smooths out after a while once it gets going, but this is a new bug that the last firmware has introduced. But I wanted to point out again just how fantastic this stabilization is. I have to say that it is actually better than the Huawei P30 Pro. It is so good. Look, I hold it steady. It looks like I'm using a gimbal or a tripod or something. Very, very, very good electronic image stabilization on this. Fantastic. The audio quality as well is one of my complaints. You've probably seen my Xiaomi videos. I keep ranting on about it because Xiaomi really does need to fix it. This is not flagship level audio, so they really do need to improve that. And I would love to be able to swap over now to the wide-angled lens or the other lens, but we cannot do that. They don't allow us to do that. All other manufacturers do, Xiaomi doesn't. And the other thing, of course, is this front-facing camera. While it shoots very good 1080p video, it is lacking electronic image stabilization, which it really does need. This is a flagship phone. One other thing too is that I've noticed that the standby battery life tends to be quite bad on the Mi 9 for some reason. There is something, even though I've done factory reset, and I'm now on, of course, the latest firmware, we've had a couple of updates, it still seems to be suffering from some sort of wake lock issue. Maybe it's one of the settings I'm using, maybe it's raise to wake, I don't know. But I have tried and I've been in contact with other MIUI owners who are also stating the same as me here, that the standby battery life tends to be quite poor. You can see how it drops off quite quick, and I was hardly even using it because this is what I wanted to test. I wanted to test just how well was it in standby, and you can see even though the screen was hardly on at all, we got all these wakes. Now I've showed something very similar in my second follow-up video, and sadly things have not changed after 2 more additional patches. And the last thing I've encountered, that we've got a little bit of stutter sometimes happening with the full screen gestures in recent apps. I've noticed that it's just not as stable. It seems the last 2 patches, actually it was 2 patches away, that it seemed to introduce a few little bugs and things. What happened was I was in gallery, I didn't manage to get it on camera, of course, I was just using the phone at home, but gallery stopped loading in a lot of images, it froze up on me, and the phone just completely crashed. I tried to go back home with gestures, there was a huge amount of stutter, everything became unresponsive, and it had to reload launchers. So unfortunately, from my review, when I said that it was super quick, I didn't see any stutters or lag in full screen gestures, that has now changed and gotten worse with the last 2 patches. The performance is still, for the most part, I'd say 95% of the time, very smooth, very fluid. Alright, so it all boils down to software, so the hardware is definitely there, no questioning that. But it just seems to me that Xiaomi is overloaded. Perhaps their software development team, they just have far too many phones, far too many sub-brands when you factor in Redmi, Black Shark, and all of the phones that they are releasing within 1 year. It seems to me they can't really keep on top of things. So this phone has the potential to be so much better, and there's some things that are just completely mind-boggling to me, that why does Xiaomi not have face unlocking enabled for all regions? Why do they have to put adverts in their ROM? I know they say their hardware division and their software is separate. Well, they act like they're almost separate companies, and that is the way the software team is going to make a little bit of money, to have advertising in here. But to me, that is completely unacceptable. Now, that's just off the record. I heard that was their reasoning behind it, but I don't know whether that's true or not. Just take it as a rumor there. So they could fix so many things. They could improve the night sight mode on here, well, the night shot mode. They could give us electronic image stabilization on the front-facing camera, and they could quite easily improve the audio quality if they just had a team of guys to sit down and say, okay, why don't we do this, this, and this, and even get rid of that stutter. I think could be improved upon, because it wasn't there on the first and the second patches. We didn't have that initial little bit of stutter within the first 5 seconds of recording 4K video, but for some reason the second to last firmware update added that. And then there's other things like this standby battery drain. I don't know quite what is going on there. It seems it's not just me. I have confirmed this with some other users on my social media account with Twitter. I've been talking to a couple of people, and they also are experiencing the same problems as me. The same goes for up and down wireless performance. It seems to vary at times. I don't know whether it's something background that's going on. It seems to be Xiaomi's framework pops up too as what I think could be causing the wake lock problem. So it's not going into a deep sleep, the phone, so that is why our standby battery life seems to be rather poor. So I hope that Xiaomi is going to take note of these things. I'm sure they're aware of so many things they could improve on, but if they can just dedicate a little bit more time, or perhaps just start releasing less phones in the year, give us better quality software, and definitely please abolish the advertising in your ROM, and they can have an even better phone. But it still is very good, and for the price it does still come recommended, but just you need a little bit of patience for them to finally and eventually, hopefully, fix those things I covered here in this video. And if you haven't seen my full review, of course, of the Mi 9, then please do check it up here. and like and subscribe for more up and coming videos. Bye for now.